Good evening. I have 7 o'clock. We'll call to order the City Council meeting for the City of Gahanna for Monday, September 16th, 2024. If you would please join me to stand for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance led by Council Vice President Trenton Weaver.
Thank you. As we gather, we are grateful for, appreciate, and use each day that comes before us.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Mr. Van Meter, would you please call the roll?
Bowers.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
McGregor.
Here.
Padova.
Here.
Brenner.
Here.
Schnetzer. Here. Weaver.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Van Meter. Next on the agenda, are there any additions or corrections this evening? All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to presentations on tonight's agenda. We have two presentations, the first one being a proclamation presentation by Mayor Jadwin in recognition of Childhood Cancer Awareness Month.
Thank you, Council President Bowers. Appreciate it. This is a proclamation that I have presented each of the last 4 years. And it is one that a lot of times we do proclamations and we celebrate joyous events. Sometimes we need to do proclamations to raise awareness around critical issues. Childhood cancer is certainly one of them. I'm not going to read the proclamation in total, but I do want to share some statistics with you. Approximately 1 in 260 children in the United States will be diagnosed with cancer by their 20th birthday. 47 children per day, or 17,155 children annually, are diagnosed with cancer in the United States. The average age of diagnosis for children is 6 years old, compared to an average age of 66 for adult cancer diagnoses. And 80% of childhood cancer patients are diagnosed late and with metastatic disease. In the last 20 years, only 6 new drugs have been approved by the FDA to specifically treat childhood cancer, which is a reason why September is designated nationally as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. It's why I'm proud to issue a proclamation today in Gahanna recognizing September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, because it is critical that we create knowledge, that we generate education around the importance of investment and research in this field. When you have a mom who's going to tell her story in a minute of having to say goodbye to a baby because treatments aren't available for children under the age of 1, we're doing something wrong and we're focused on the wrong things. So I do have a resident with me this evening, Tracy Gold, as a graduate of Gahanna Lincoln High School. Her daughters are with her this evening. They have gone to Gahanna Lincoln schools as well. But she is here to tell us the story of her beautiful daughter, Alex.
Alex was diagnosed when she was 3 months old. We found out she had cancer because she had rhinovirus and bronchiolitis, and her breathing treatments just weren't working for her. We took her to the hospital on October 26th of 2015. Within 24 hours of being there, she developed petechiae bruising from head to toe. When we got there, it was not present. When we went to change her diaper, to call an ACT to send her to ICU, we noticed it. And without even getting the blood test, the doctors knew right away what it was. Within hours, she was diagnosed with ALL leukemia. At that time, her white blood cell counts were so high that they put her into a medically induced coma for a week on dialysis to try to clear her stream. She went through 7 treatments of chemo over a 7-month period. During that time, her cancer changed and it mutated forms. So she developed a second form of cancer, AML leukemia, while on chemo for the ALL. At that point, she became refractory, and there was no more options that Children's Hospital had for us. So at that time, they reached out to St. Jude, and unfortunately, we were denied because there was no trials for anyone under the age of 1. At this time, she was 10 months old, and we were told we would not make it to her first birthday to do any of the trials. And the doctors were right. They gave us 2 weeks, and 2 weeks later, we had to say our goodbyes. This happened April 18th of 2016. Still to this day, they're still using the same drugs, the same chemo that's for adults, but it's minimalized to smaller doses for children. We ask that we just try to raise awareness the best that we can. Before becoming a cancer family, we didn't even know kids could get cancer. We didn't know it was a possibility. Never did I think that I would lose my 10-month-old to a disease that should never have happened. All we ask, just raise awareness. Wear gold in the month of September. If anybody asks, just spread awareness. We need new drugs. We need new treatments. Hopefully one day no other kids have to go through this.
So Tracy and her family have become very strong advocates in the Friends of Faith Prudent Foundation, which is an organization that works with patients, oncology patients and families to create educational, financial, and emotional support opportunities. So this is not necessarily something that I would like to honor. However, I do want to honor you for all of your dedication, for working through the pain, for taking this pain and turning it into something positive to help future families so that they may be saved in a different way. So it is my distinct honor to present to you a proclamation designating September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the city of Gahanna. My thoughts and prayers are with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Jadwin, for sharing with us such an important issue and highlighting the work that's being done around raising awareness of childhood cancer. Our next presentation on this evening's agenda, we have definitely a different tone. And as Mayor Jadwin pointed out, oftentimes we are using our resolutions and proclamations to celebrate joyous occasions and sometimes also using these to recognize issues and bring awareness to issues that we need to bring awareness to. This next resolution, I think, does both. Raises awareness of the contributions that our Hispanic and Latina community members contribute to our community, and celebrating that community as well. Councilwoman Jones?
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I'm just still capturing myself after that last story, but thank you for that good setup, President Bowers. As stated, this month is Hispanic Heritage Month, which is celebrated September 15th through October 15th, and I won't go through the whole resolution, but just wanted to highlight a couple of things and the reason why I brought this forward to you all and to council. Whereas diversity is one of Gahanna's greatest strengths, and Gahanna is proudly a community where all are welcome, included, and celebrated, and whereas the contributions of Hispanic and Latina businesses, business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals extend beyond economic development, beyond economic impact, enriching our community with diverse perspectives, cultures, and traditions that enhance our collective understanding and unity. Knowing that we are a community that is run by small business and makes up the livelihood of so many of our residents, I was honored tonight to invite a couple of special guests here to sort of receive this resolution this evening. So we have Marissa and Emilio Vicens, who are residents and owners of Spread La Luz, and we have Judith Colon, who is a resident as well and owner of Paint Party on Espanol. We have one guest who couldn't be here tonight, but also wanted to make sure that I shouted out Ani Palacios, who is also a Gahanna resident and author and journalist. So, council colleagues, if we could step down for a photo, and then I'd invite our guests to just make brief remarks if they'd like to.
Yeah.
Okay, so hi again. Hola, my name is Marissa Vicens. I want to thank you all for taking the time to hear from us regarding Hispanic Heritage Month. I have lived in Gahanna with my family now for almost 2 years. We love how welcoming and diverse Gahanna is. Our daughter, our oldest, just started kindergarten at High Point, and she loves it. She talks about it. Every single day she comes home, she's so happy. I always celebrate my Hispanic culture, but this month I try to do more by supporting new small Hispanic-owned businesses and learning new dishes. This month is special to me because I think of my ancestors that immigrated here and how brave they were. I now share their stories and challenges with my children. I am the proud owner of a small Latino-owned business called Spread La Luz, which means to spread the light. I stand here before you not only as an entrepreneur, but as someone inspired by the dreams and sacrifices of my ancestors who believed in building a future where creativity flourished without limitation. My journey may seem small compared to the vast stories of our people, yet it symbolizes a radiant bridge to the next generation. It embodies the essence of possibility and empowerment. My Play-Doh business is more than just a simple venture. It is a labor of love created to inspire children to explore their dreams without boundaries. My Play-Doh is called Dream Dough, and it is occupation themed to teach children they can go after their dreams no matter where they come from or what color their skin is. As we celebrate this month, I urge all of us to advocate for us small business owners that fill our communities with innovation and inspiration. It is vital that we create markets and spaces for these businesses that thrive here in Gahanna, similar to Dublin, Worthington, if possible. By supporting small local businesses, we support culture, history, and the rich legacy that frames our identity. Let's continue to celebrate Hispanic heritage, not just during this month, but every day as we shine a spotlight on who we are, where we come from, and the incredible journeys we are all capable of embarking upon. Together, let's paint a vibrant future with creativity, love, and the limitless possibilities contained within our children. Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you. Judith, you're up next.
Thank you. Good evening. As mentioned, my name is Judy Colon. I was born and raised in New York City. My parents are from the Dominican Republic. The change to move to Ohio was very drastic. But I understand that it was the best move my mom could have done then for her children. I've lived in Gahanna since 2009. I started out as a single woman, and now I am a married woman with 2 children attending Gahanna schools. So I am very proud. They love their school and come home excited about the things that they're learning. When I first moved to Gahanna, there was very little Hispanic, but as the community is growing, I was excited to hear of the initiative to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. I think it's very important that we open that discussion for learning about the Hispanic community and embracing that diversity and not just on the negative things that we see in the news, and embrace the culture. And when we celebrate culture, I think it's a win-win for the community. I am founder of Paint Party en Español. I host paint parties both in Spanish and in English. My goal is for my painters to relax, to enjoy the process, and to have fun, which are things that we all need to get away from everyday stress. And And I'm just grateful to be here with you guys tonight, and I look forward to see how Gahanna is going to continue to embrace the Hispanic community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both to Judith and to the Vicens for being here. It really is an honor to recognize and celebrate the diversity of our community and highlight businesses. So if you have any creative needs, you have spaces to definitely go and have those creative needs met. And I just wish both of you and your families and your businesses much success and prosperity, and continue to give us the feedback and your thoughts and ideas as we continue to elevate the diversity of our community. So thank you for being here. Thank you, colleagues, for the time and space as well.
Thank you so much. All right, our next item on the agenda is our hearing of visitors this evening. I noticed that we have a number of new guests here this evening. For those who are new to City Council meeting, hearing of visitors is typically an opportunity for members of the public to offer comments. Typically, there is not a response from council members to individuals unless the item is one that you're speaking on is on the agenda. There may not be any discussion tonight on the item that you're bringing forward to us. That's not meant as any type of disrespect, but that's just part of our process. Your comments, though, will be taken into consideration. They are certainly made part of our record, and there will be follow-up in the future. I believe that we have a number of speaker slips this evening regarding the Action Sports Park. I wanted to open the floor. We have a number of our leadership team from our Parks and Rec department here this evening. Director Stephanie Farrell and Brian Gill Houston and Zach Guthrie are also here, and they make up a wonderful leadership team from our Parks and Rec department. Director Farrell, did you want to make any opening kind of comments this evening?
Thank you. I appreciate it. Again, there's a lot of questions and just outstanding, I think, questions around the Action Sports project. So I thought it would be beneficial to really summarize the intent of the project and also give an update about where we are in the process. So ultimately, the project really derived from feedback that we received. We had an existing asset at Shaw Park. The asset was in severe decline to the point that we had to remove the features from use. We had a lot of participants of that site who have used it through multiple generations attend a Parks Board meeting as well as City Council meetings to discuss the hope that the amenity wouldn't just be diminished, and really gave some really specific reasons and interest for why the asset was important to them and their families. Along with that, the department completed a Parks Master Plan and was adopted in 2023. Through that asset, we understood that adventure sports, action sports was something that was important to the community. So taking the commentary that we received through Parks Board as well as the capital improvement conversations at City Council, we understood that we were not trying to replace a like-for-like amenity. Therefore, we would not be replacing a skate park with a skate park. It truly opened up an opportunity to advance and to update the feature to today's standards, and also to understand what Gahanna meant when we say Action Park. So in 2024, I guess, step back. City Council approved some funding for 2024 to understand and determine conceptual views as well as cost estimates to truly identify and create a project. A site was identified through Lower McCorkle. The reason why Lower McCorkle was an identified site is in large part because of its proximity and adjacency to the Big Walnut Trail. It's a regional corridor. We're also in the progress of creating a mountain bike trail that is adjacent as well as Creekside. There's also significant acreage there. And one thing that I can't explicitly state, the Lower McCorkle site, it's ultimately zoned into 3 different locations. One location is the large wooded area that's on the east side of Ridenauer. It is along the Big Walnut Corridor. That site is in a regulatory floodway. There is no development or any type of clearing that is intended for that site. That was identified as a potential location for a Frisbee golf course or a canopy walk. Again, those conversations really are intended to come from community feedback in response to what we're looking for the site. So those features are low impact and intended to activate the space rather than destroy the natural resource. The area 2 is the soccer field. That is where the activated space, again, including a skate park feature. Other features that have been discussed are a climbing wall, pump track, hockey rink, lots of different types of features. And that's the intent of this process now, is to determine what those features are in relation to Action Park. The third area that is being studied is the parking lot that is on the west side of Ridenour. And the only improvement to that site is to improve the parking lot. There are wetlands that are associated and adjacent to that lot. So protecting those wetlands as well as improving the existing parking lot. So again, those 3 sites are in a study. So what we're doing right now is a third-party consultant is helping to gauge community input in response to what it means from an action park, as well as study the complete a site analysis. So what are the impacts to those features? What are the traffic impacts, again, environmental, and what are the processes that would need to be required in order to introduce an asset of that magnitude to that location. So that's, again, a very quick synopsis from where the project initiated from and where we are today. This is a lengthy process. We just began in July. So the intent would be to complete a review through public input to receive 3 conceptual designs for the end of this year. And that, of course, would then be introduced to community to gain that input and feedback. The entire year, if that project were to move forward, the entire year of 2025 would be to continue to develop and gain the proper permitting with no construction intended for, again, the following year if the project were to progress.
Thank you, Director Farrell. I guess I will also note that council members may also speak during council comment, and so if folks leave after hearing of visitors, you can certainly follow up on our YouTube channel, on the city's YouTube channel, to watch any council comment that may address the comments that are made during hearing of visitors. So with that, we'll go into the speaker slips in the order in which I received them. When you approach the podium, please state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. We'll use a timer to make sure that everything remains fair and equitable for everyone in the room this evening. Our first speaker slip is from Michael Heitzman.
Good evening, Board President Bowers and members of council. My name is Michael Heitzman. I live at 180 Rivers Edge Way. I have a lot to say, so I'm going to read so that I'm succinct. I'm going to get right to the point. I am 100% against the proposed move of the skateboard park from Shaw Park to Lower McCorkle Park. Many of the neighbors of Lower McCorkle attended last week's Park and Rec Committee meeting and shared the same sentiment, myself included. It must be noted that the room was full of people against this project at Lower McCorkle Park. I understand that through the capital improvement budget process, you approved funding for the consultants to create a conceptual design for an action park, and that is wonderful. We should create a skate park for those citizens and kids that would use it, but I have no idea how or why Lower McCorkle would be considered for such a project. Let me say that again. I am not opposed to a skate park, just the location that has been selected. It goes without saying that installing a park of this nature, including a skate park, makes no sense in the proposed location. The plan seems to take considerable amount of green space and wood surrounding the Big Walnut Creek and replace it with concrete. This natural part of Gahanna must be preserved. In a city like ours, we must keep and maintain our open and valuable green spaces. Flooding has also been brought up as a reason to move the park. If Lower McCorkle Park can be remedied of this flooding through the construction of this project, so can the current location of Shaw Park. While I believe the Parks and Rec Department has received positive feedback related to this project, I believe that the consulting company being used and the city have not engaged those that will be most directly impacted by the project, the neighbors. I've also learned that Lower McCorkle Park is the only park being looked at as a possible site for this project. It is unbelievable to me that we are not asking the consulting company to look at every park in this city and provide multiple renderings or conceptual designs that can be shared with the city for feedback from the citizens. With that said, I'm asking that a few things happen. Since there is clear opposition to Lower McCorkle Park, it should be taken off the table immediately. Explore other locations. I believe the mayor, Director Farrell, and even City Council could make this possibility at Lower McCorkle dead tomorrow. I also learned that there are no City Council or Parks or Rec Advisory Board members on the Action Park Committee. I plan to join the committee and invite you to join as well. Lastly, I ask that you listen to your constituents and deny any further funding for the project if it remains at Lower McCorkle Park. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heitzman. Our next speaker slip is from Jenny Hecker. If you would please approach the podium and state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Jenny Hecker. I live at 211 Camilla Lane. And the flooding at Shoal Park isn't the only concern for having the property there. Shoal Park was most recently set behind 2 bars and a beer barn. Coach's is now gone, but still it is quite offset from the road and invites, unwelcome behavior. And so having the park over at Lower McCorkle could be a good option. If there are other options to be found, I'm sure the conversation would be welcomed. But I also feel like the concept isn't just about bringing in a concrete jungle. It's about creating an extension of the Arboretum at Creekside. We've worked really hard as a community to create a beautiful landmark. And there would be in no way like a concrete jungle to be welcomed by any part of the community. There would be trees, there would be greenery, there would be pathways where people could walk and gather in this property where, and best, there's soccer games going on, which are important. And I understand that a soccer field could be recreated in the property where Shoal currently is. So I just want to say that I think that it's not the worst thing that could be done with that property over there. And I welcome collaboration, conversation from community members who have, they've heard a small part of the story, and for whatever reason, that's all that they've heard. So I look forward to us all coming together and figuring out the best way to create this space for the teenagers of our community. Right now, they have nowhere to go to practice their sport. It's important for them to have a place to go. Otherwise, they're going to be getting in trouble, and they're going to be called out on being, hoodlums when they're not. So again, thank you for considering this. And I've heard if the park were to progress, and that makes my heart so heavy, because a lot of people, not just the kids now, not just the kids in the future, there's adults who enjoy these sports. It's not just skateboarding, it's BMXing, it's getting together, it's being community, including everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hecker. Next speaker slip this evening is Shane DeJarmo.
Hello, my name is Shane DeGarmo. I live at 168 Rivers Edge Way. Thank you, President Bowers, member of council, for the opportunity to let me speak. First, let me thank Director Farrell for her comments. they clarified some things that might reiterate just the importance of what I'd like to say. I didn't come up with any prepared comments, but I think over the last week I've heard many conflicting accounts of what is proposed, what's going to happen, and when it's going to happen. So I don't really want to reiterate what my neighbors will probably talk to you about this evening. I know they've already had an opportunity to speak to you once before, and I'm sure we'll continue to do so in the future. But I guess I would just ask that if this group has any influence on the discussions moving forward and the outcome of whatever proposed actions that might come as a result of exploring this opportunity, I would just ask that use that influence to ensure that there's full transparency in this process so that all parties, those that are in favor, those that might oppose, those looking for alternate solutions, would all have an opportunity to be able to intake whatever information is gathered through this process of identifying a site and what might be best for the community, and allowing all of us to have an opportunity to comment on that before anything is voted on or approved to go forward. So that's really all I have to say. Thank you for your work and consideration as these discussions are ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Our next speaker slip is from Maria Duke.
Hello, my name is Maria Duque. I live in 200 Rivers Edge Way. We are not opposed to having a park. We are not opposed to having a space for our teenagers, for adults, for anyone that is a skateboarder or skates or does any of these action sports mentioned. This space is a space that we do use as a community. We have multiple soccer teams that utilize this space. We utilize the space for our kids, for our dogs. It's a space that is not used 24/7 like all of our parks, but it's a park that is used. There are also concerns because the green, I know that it's been mentioned that the trees won't be touched. However, with a golf disc park, you will have to do some clearing. That area is the home of a bald eagle that nests constantly there. Every single Gahanna site has commented on seeing this bald eagle in the nesting. It is also an area that has wetlands. These are also protected. So the concern is also an ecological one. We see animals in this area constantly. We saw deer this morning. We've seen wild geese, not wild geese, wild turkey. We've seen animals in that area constantly. We have our neighboring communities that were not aware of any of this. We were not aware of this. We know that this is still a conversation. We hope that this is still a conversation. We hope that it's an open conversation, that we can bring all of our ideas to the table. We want this park. We just do not want it in this location. Every single thing we have heard is that this has been the only place that has been taken into consideration. It's a flooding area. So moving a park that has flooding issues to another area that floods, and it floods constantly in the spring and in the fall, our street, Old Ridenhour, closes all of the time, makes absolutely no sense. You're just moving your problem to a different location and destroying a current location that is being used. The traffic in Old Ridenhour is a problem. It's a problem today. That problem is going to increase. People fly in a road that is 15 miles an hour. With increased traffic, we are very concerned for our safety, the safety of our kids, and the safety of our pets. I really hope we can all come together and we can work on something that is feasible for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Duque. Our next speaker slip this evening on a different subject is Angel Pointer.
Good evening. I'm Angel Pointer. I live at 378 Coldwell Court. I emailed over some photos. Are you able to pull those up?
I don't know that we can present them this evening, but we have all received them. They did come to inboxes.
Okay. This would be a lot more effective to be able to show you those images. We were the first street to be completely ripped out and redone with road work and sidewalks. And that started in mid-May. It is now mid-September, and we still do not have a complete sidewalk. There's sidewalk missing because the construction company broke a water shutoff valve, which was under that sidewalk. And that sidewalk that's missing is located next door to a person who's in a power wheelchair. So they're unable to go down the sidewalk. There's just been a lot of shoddy work, a lot of problems that we're still experiencing. And my photos show it. The big one, I guess, is my driveway. We have a 10-foot easement from the street to the driveway, and from 10 feet to 12 feet, they cut my driveway, and they replaced it with some loose stone that is going to get water in it. It needs to be reheated, tamped down, rolled, sealed, some proper work done. And that they did that to every person who had asphalt driveway on my street. Another neighbor has a concrete driveway. They broke her driveway. They said it'll be 2 months before they can come out, cut out a section and replace it with concrete. There's a internet cable strewn across the street. It's been there for over a month with a big wad of cable in the sidewalk way. We haven't had street lights for 2.5 months. The construction company knocked out our street lights all down the street and including Lingale Court. Our grass has a lot of weeds and flowers in it that they planted. It is the worst grass I've ever seen. Some of it's not growing. Our mailboxes are a huge problem. They wobble. They are not level. I went out, I said something to them, hey, do you guys need a level? I offered them a level. They pulled out a 6-inch level. I said, no, we got it. I said, well, my mailbox is not straight. I can tell by looking. And they're like, yeah, it is. Our level says it is. It is not. And I said, well, what's going to happen when my magnet wears out and my mailbox starts popping open? And they just didn't care. So we have a lot of issues, and they're all in the emails that I've provided. I have another neighbor here who may want to elaborate on some of the things she's experienced. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Pointer. All right, our next speaker slip, I believe on the same topic, Jeff and Debbie Mitchell. Okay. And that microphone does come off of the podium.
Hi, thank you. I'm Debbie Mitchell, my husband Jeff, and we live at 369 Coldwell Court. Again, as Angel iterated, we do live on a dead-end court that had repairs, although we do love that now the sidewalk is level for the most part, somewhat, and the street seems to be not so pitted. We still have standing water that lays on top of the pavement, the new pavement in certain areas. That's only going to get worse and wear away at the new road that's still there. We have the cable, again, as she mentioned, that was originally strung over the street while the work was being done. It appears that they forgot to bury it when they put the new road down, so now the cable lays on top. Some people work from home. That has put them out of their ability to be able to do their jobs. Myself, as far as how the sidewalks were done during the process, I was kind of trapped in my own driveway. There were no sidewalks for me to be able to go down, and the driveways were ripped up and the streets were torn. We have some photos too. I think Angel was able to maybe forward some. But their solution was to put a board in our grass and take it to the edge of the sidewalk, not thinking about the drop-off to go into the road where all the construction equipment was, all the rocks, everything, for me to do my wheelchair and be able to get up to our parked cars, which that was another problem with the parking. What we would ask is that the communication, when we call and we voice our opinion about what's happening and what the solution is, I would like to see better communication, letting us know what the process is going to be, when it's delayed, how long it's going to be, for the delays that they had. And like she said, it started in May and it's September, and the work, it's almost like that work has been forgotten about. We know that you've moved on to other areas, so we don't even know when or if they're coming back to fix it. That's it?
Yep, that's it.
That's it, but yeah, we would like to see something.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will note that our Director of Engineering, Tom Comlank, is here, and he's heard your comments this evening and the emails that were sent by Ms. Pointer earlier this afternoon have been forwarded to Senior Director Schultz and Mayor Jadwin. So we'll continue to make sure that your questions are responded to. Thank you for being here. Thank you to all members of the community who spoke tonight and offered some comments. We do appreciate your involvement and certainly look forward to future opportunities to collaborate and connect with you on the topics that you've raised to our attention this evening. All right, our next item on our agenda is Section E, public hearings. This evening, we have a second public hearing on Ordinance 53-2024. I'll review the rule that has established the public hearing and then provide a brief statement regarding this item. So pursuant to our council rules 9.10 and 9.11, the President of Council shall give a brief statement or explanation of the item under hearing. Prior to the opening of the public hearing, the administration may make a presentation regarding the application or the item in question. The public hearing shall be opened with any applicant or their representative to make a presentation or comment for up to 10 minutes. Because there is no proponent or applicant this evening, our comments this evening will be public comment, which will be opened for 3 minutes allowed per speaker. Speakers should complete a speaker slip and come to the podium when called, just as we just engaged with hearing of visitors, and state your name and address for the record. Additional time, if needed, may be requested, and permission is at the discretion of the President of Council. So if anyone is here to speak on this ordinance approving the plan of operation and governance for the Sustainable Ohio Public Energy Council, or SOPEC, should complete a speaker slip at this time. This action, Ordinance 53-2024, is our next step in advancing municipal aggregation in Gahanna. At the risk of being redundant, I did want to share a little bit more about this municipal public aggregation that is being pursued by the City of Gahanna. Municipal electric aggregation is a tool that communities can use to reduce energy cost to their residents while taking steps to achieve economic and environmental goals. These programs, aggregation, leverage local purchasing power and decision-making to secure electricity from specific sources at a specific and hopefully lower cost. These programs can help communities with greenhouse gas reduction goals by choosing renewable energy as their source of electricity. Starting last year, City Council and the administration began gathering information about municipal aggregation programs. Council then passed a resolution authorizing partnership with Power a Clean Future Ohio, demonstrating our commitment to reducing pollution and pursuing best practices on revitalizing the municipal aggregation program that was initially approved by Gahanna voters in 2000. Earlier this spring, the administration released a request for information following a thorough review of 4 responses to the RFI between the administration and council. With the support of the administration, council passed a resolution pledging to become members with SOPEC. The Operation and Governance Plan adoption is the next step in advancing this partnership with SOPEC and moving forward with municipal aggregation. Tonight is the second public hearing on adopting the Electric Plan of Operation and Governance, and the first hearing was held on Tuesday, September 3rd. The plan was introduced at Committee of the Whole on August 26th, and notice of these public hearings has been published in the Columbus Dispatch, as well as on the exterior signboard of Gahanna City Hall. With that, I will close my comments and open the discussion to any visitors who wish to make a comment on this ordinance. All right, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing on this item. Moving on to the consent agenda, is there a motion to, before I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, Mr. Van Meter, would you please read the ordinances identified under Section 2? Oh, excuse me, I'm on the wrong. I apologize.
Section 3.
Yes, Section 3, please, of the consent agenda.
Ordinances for second reading and adoption, Ordinance 0052-2024, an ordinance authorizing supplemental appropriations, General Fund, Council Office, Professional Services for Grant Award.
Thank you, Mr. Van Meter. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as published?
So moved.
I have a first by Mr. Renner. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Weaver. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Van Meter, would you please call the roll?
Renner?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
McGregor?
Yes.
Padova?
Yes.
Schnetzer?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes. All right, motion carries and the consent agenda is adopted as published. Section G, ordinances for introduction and first reading. Mr. Van Meter, would you please read the ordinances under Section G of tonight's agenda?
Ordinance 0054-2024, an ordinance to adopt amendments to Part 5 General Offenses Code sections of the codified ordinances of the City of Gahanna, to provide for penalties, to provide for codification, to provide for severability, to repeal conflicting ordinances, to provide an effective date, and for other purposes. Ordinance 0056-2024, an ordinance accepting public water improvements and easement associated with the Discovery Storage Development located at 4569 Morse Road. Ordinance 0057-2024, an ordinance accepting Crescent Place Public Roadway, water main, storm sewer, and sanitary sewer public infrastructure improvements associated with the Crescent Woods development. Ordinance 0058-2024, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to provide consent and enter a participatory agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation for bridge replacement on Winridge Court. Ordinance 0059-2024, an ordinance authorizing the city attorney or the city attorney's designee to file for appropriation of right-of-way and temporary construction easement for 986 Ridgecrest Drive, parcel ID 025-010858, Sayoko T. Cullen, owner, in furtherance of the Winridge Court Bridge Replacement Project. Ordinance 0060-2024, an ordinance authorizing the city attorney or the city attorney's designee to file for appropriation of right-of-way and temporary construction easement for 320 Winridge Court, parcel ID 025-010865, Lauren Renner and Peter Renner, owners, in furtherance of the Winridge Court Bridge Replacement Project. Lastly, Ordinance 0061-2024, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept and enter into an access agreement with Ohio Power Company, successor in interest to Columbus and Southern Ohio Electric Company, for public safety vehicular access to 825 Tech Center Drive and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Van Meter. I will note that these items will be back on the agenda for second reading and adoption on October the 7th. I have requested that the first item, I believe. Ordinance 54-2024, amendments to the General Offenses Code section, comes back to committee next week. Okay. All right. Section H of the agenda, ordinances for second reading and adoption. Mr. Van Meter, would you please read ordinance 53-2024 into the record?
Ordinance 0053-2024, an ordinance approving the plan of operation and governance for the Sustainable Ohio Public Energy Council, SOPEC, electric aggregation program, and for the purpose of jointly establishing and implementing an electric aggregation program.
Thank you, Mr. Van Meter. I'll note that this is the item for which we just had the second public hearing. I will entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 53-2024. I have a first by Mr. Schnetzer.
Mr. President,
I'll take a second first.
second.
Thank you, Mr. Renner. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Renner.
I would like to actually make a motion that we adopt this as an emergency. And so therefore, Section 3 of the resolution should read that this ordinance is declared an emergency for the immediate preservation of public peace, property health, safety, and welfare, which shall be in full force and effect after passage by this council and after the date of signature of approval by the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Renner. So is there a first on Mr. Renner's motion to amend in order to pass the item with emergency?
Wasn't his the first?
I was
Oh, that's the first?
right,
Okay.
yeah.
And then a second, please.
Second.
I have a second from Ms. Jones. Discussion on the amendment.
Yes, Ms. President. Based on conversations that I had with experts such as with SOPEC and others, I do believe that with the energy markets as they're fluctuating, I think that it actually behooves us to take advantage at our earliest convenience and allow them to actually recommend rates sooner than later.
Thank you, Mr. Renner. Any further discussion? All right. Mrs. McGregor.
It's probably a good idea. When I changed from apples to apples, in 3 days, the prices changed. I didn't do it the first time. Second time I looked at it, the rates were higher that were offered.
Thank you, Mrs. McGregor. Any further discussion on the amendment? All right, Mr. Van Meter, would you please call the roll on the motion to amend ordinance 53-2024 as stated by Mr. Renner?
Renner?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
McGregor?
Yes.
Padova?
Yes.
Schnetzer?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes. Motion carries. Ordinance 53-2024 to amend that ordinance is so moved. Now, on to the discussion on the ordinance as amended to adopt said ordinance. Any further discussion on this item? All right. Mr. Van Meter, would you please call the roll on the adoption of ordinance 53-2024 as amended?
Schnetzer?
Yes.
Renner?
Yes.
McGregor?
Yes.
Padova?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, and we will look forward to discussion and communication from the administration and SOPEC regarding next steps and broader community outreach regarding this municipal aggregation program that will allow for an opt-out program once we have established rates and other types of mechanisms have gone into effect. Okay. Next item on the agenda, Section I, ordinances for introduction, waiver, and adoption. Mr. Van Meter, would you please read ordinance 0062-2024?
Ordinance 0062-2024, an ordinance granting to Ohio Power Company, its successors, and assigns the right to acquire, construct, maintain, and operate in the streets, thoroughfares, alleys, bridges, and public places of the city of Gahanna, State of Ohio, and its successors, lines for the distribution of electric energy to the City of Gahanna, State of Ohio, and inhabitants thereof for light, heat, power, and other purposes, and for the transmission of the same within, through, or across said City of Gahanna, State of Ohio, and waiving second reading.
Thank you, Mr. Van Meter. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 62-2024? Excuse me. Is there a motion to waive the second reading of ordinance 62-2024?
So moved.
I have a first by Mr. Renner.
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Jones. Any discussion on the motion to waive second reading, suspending our rules of procedure? All right. Mr. Van Meter, would you please call the roll as to the motion to waive second reading on this item?
Renner?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Padova?
Yes.
Schnetzer?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
McGregor?
Yes.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 0062-2024? I have a first by Mr. Schnetzer,
Second.
a second by Mr. Renner. Any discussion on the adoption of ordinance 62-2024? Mr. Van Meter, would you please call the roll?
Schnetzer?
Yes.
Renner?
Yes.
Padova?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
McGregor?
Yes.
Motion carries and ordinance 62-2024 is adopted. Next section on our agenda, Section J, ordinances for introduction, waiver, and emergency adoption. We have one item under Section J. Mr. Van Meter, would you please read ordinance 0050-2024?
Ordinance 0055-2024, an ordinance to accept a final plat application for Crescent Woods Loop Road consisting of 14.96 plus or minus acres, parcel ID 025-013767, current zoning general commercial GC, Crescent Woods LLC, Griffin Caldwell applicant, waiving second reading and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Van Meter. Is there a motion to suspend our council rules and waive second reading of ordinance 55-2024?
So moved.
I have a first by Ms. Jones,
Second.
second by Ms. Padova. Any discussion on the motion to suspend rules and waive second reading? All right. Hearing none, Mr. Van Meter, would you please call the roll?
Jones?
Yes.
Padova?
Yes.
Renner?
Yes.
Schnetzer?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
McGregor?
Yes.
Motion to suspend rules and waive second reading carries. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 0055-2024 with emergency?
So moved.
I have a first by Mr. Renner.
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Jones. Any discussion on this item? I did have, I guess, just one follow-up question. I know, again, it doesn't necessarily pertain to the plat application itself, but was there any clarity on the trees that were raised? I see Mr. Caldwell is here. Thank you so much for entertaining the question, Mr. Caldwell.
So talking to our consultant, the reason we differed there was because they're concerned they picked Gahanna-approved trees, and they wanted to make sure if there's any sort of diseases that happened, it wouldn't affect all trees. We're happy to work with the landscaping crew if you want to change those, but that's the clarification there.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Caldwell, for looking into that. Any further discussion on this item? All right. All right. If there's no further discussion, then if Mr. Van Meter would please call the roll.
Renner?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Schnetzer?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
McGregor?
Yes.
Padova?
Yes.
All right. Motion carries. And ordinance 55-2024 is approved with emergency. Moving on to section K, correspondence and actions. I note that we have a Ohio Division of Liquor Control notice. Mr. Van Meter?
Yes, as noted on the agenda, this is an application for a new permit. James Snyder, doing business as Antolino's Pizza, 1050 Beecher Crossing, North Suite G. I did check with the Division of Police. There are no objections from the division, no history on this item. So if there are no objections by council, I'll go ahead and return the notice that we do not request a hearing.
Okay. No prior liquor permit at this location whatsoever? This is completely first impression? Okay. All right. Thank you. Any discussion from council? Any objections? All right. Thank you. Moving on, any other correspondence or actions from my colleagues? Hearing none, we'll move to Section L, Representatives. Mr. Renner and Mr. Weaver, do you have a report for us from the CIC?
Mr. Weaver.
Thank you, Mr. Renner. Thank you, Madam President. Just that the CIC will be meeting at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning in the committee room.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. We'll turn it back to you for Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission report.
All right, thank you. Attached to everyone's agenda is a lengthy update, lengthy report, so thank you to Clerk Van Meter and Council Office for putting that together. A couple items to highlight there. The commission did meet on Thursday, September 12th. Our next meeting is October 10th. We found out that MORPC received the largest grant that it had received in its history. It was a $15 million grant for electric vehicle infrastructure. You can read more information attached to the report there. If you haven't already, now that we're in the middle of September, October doesn't feel so far away, but despite our high temperatures. Summit on Sustainability is October 29th, so if you plan to attend, please make sure that you let Mr. Van Meter know. Couple items from the General Assembly that were highlighted for us. House Bill 315 would revise, make some revisions to Ohio's township law. It's an omnibus bill, however, it now includes housing technical assistance funding, and that's an opportunity for all political subdivisions. That was passed by the House in June and pending in the Senate. House Bill 536 would make a failure to wear a seatbelt and failure to properly secure a child in an appropriate booster seat or seatbelt a primary offense. That's having a third hearing in the Criminal Justice Committee. Money Mondays, today there's a conversation with Vincent Coleman from Columbus Realtors on affordable housing efforts. Next week, sustainability projects, hear from Chad Gibson with the City of Upper Arlington. That one might be of interest for many of my colleagues. And then, I had a couple notes here as well. Put a date on your calendar for March 21st for the MORPC State of the Region. There will be an annual salary and fringe benefit survey. The results of that should be coming out here in the next couple weeks. And then lastly, there is on Thursday, September 26th, there's a Zoom or in-person meeting in partnership with OSU concerning responding to the housing crisis. And that would be it for my MORPC report, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Councilwoman Padova, Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Thank you. The Ohio Herb Center hosted 2 motor coach groups in the last month. Both groups participated in private workshops and garden tours while they were in Gahanna. Classes have been going extremely well at the Herb Center this year. They typically do about 3 classes a month, and most of them have been sold out this year. Most of the attendees are not Gahanna residents, and some have even driven from bordering states to attend some of these classes that the Herb Center has been offering. Also coming up, again, October's right around the corner, and they will be offering 3 ghost tours offered on Friday nights in October. They will be led by Amanda Ferguson of the Ohio Herb Center. She's the coordinator there. And 2 of the tours are already sold out, so you can go to ohioherbcenter.org if you would like to get more information about that. And Visit Gahanna is assisting in the promotion of the Bassett Fest taking place at Pizzaro Park on Saturday. September 28th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. So this group's been coming to Gahanna for several years. They attract hundreds of basset hound owners, friends, and spectators who stay in our hotels, eat in our restaurants, and shop locally. So if you have a basset hound, go on over, or if you just want to see a lot of them. Again, that's September 28th from 11 to 3 at Pizarro Park.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Jones, School Board.
Yeah, just one update that there is a regular school board meeting this Thursday, the 19th at 6:30 at Clark Hall. All are welcome to attend and participate. Agenda for that meeting should be available via board docs, the school website, tomorrow on Tuesday. And that is all.
Great. Thank you, Councilwoman Jones. Official reports, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Just a couple of comments. Last week we had the Senior Expo. Thanks to our recreation team for putting on really what was a very well-attended event at the Gahanna Sanctuary with multiple vendors there available for our seniors in our community, sharing resources with them. Also thanks to our public service team that was here Saturday morning for our second Shred and Recycle event of the year. Typically we've only done that once a year, but we did add a second event this year in response to demand for that from the public. Grin was also on hand to receive donations, so appreciated everybody that showed up to drop off their materials, their papers and old computers, et cetera, so that those types of items could be safely recycled and disposed of. We do have Touch a Truck this Saturday. Always a popular event. That's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Hanna Park, and Grin will be there as well, again, accepting donations of food as well as monetary donations. It's always a great opportunity for the public to engage with them. Couple of things. Staff here at the city have been hard at work with capital improvement projects and investments, not just in the summer months, but in many cases over the past several years and leading up to those projects and finalizing them. We did have promotion Friday when we got the exciting news that the Taylor Station Claycraft Roundabout was ready to open, and it opened 23 days ahead of schedule. That was a $2.9 million project, $2,969,596.50 to be exact, between design services, right-of-way and easement acquisition, construction costs, inspection, and administrative fees, et cetera. We did have a grant of $999,999. I would have pitched in the dollar just to make it an even million. I'm not quite sure why it was that number, but we did get that amount from OPWC toward the project, and the project ended up being just over 12% under budget. So we were ahead of schedule and under budget. The roundabout is open, really facilitating what has been historically a very difficult intersection. When they say I sat 5 minutes at that intersection waiting to turn, you did. The traffic study showed it was 4 minutes and 48 seconds to make a left turn, trying to turn from Taylor Station either way. So we're looking forward to the improvements in that major corridor of the industrial zone. Other capital projects, I do appreciate the comments from a resident tonight about the street program. We'll look into that. The street and sidewalk program are still ongoing. We are just beginning that punch list phase with the contractor. So to go back through and making sure that we hold them accountable for the work that they're doing and making sure that it is done to our specifications and our quality of work that we expect is where we are right now. The water tower rehabilitation is still an ongoing project. That is necessary work that has been underway. That is expected to go on at least for the next 2 months, perhaps longer. The Havens Corners water line was a project done earlier this year, done in about 2 to 3 months' time. The Claycraft Taylor Station water line was done. Link to Literacy Trail is in design phase. That is the trail that will go behind the new library, connecting from Hamilton Road all the way over to Shoal Park and to Creekside, as well as Section 8 of the Big Walnut Trail. That design work is underway. Construction of that final section will happen next year, coincide with the Hamilton Road bridge work that is being done. 2 playgrounds replaced, Ambassador Commons, Upper McCorkle Park playgrounds, full replacement and rebuilding of those. Just a couple weeks ago, we swore in 5 new officers, so we are close to being fully staffed there. You may have seen just recently the installation of 4 solar-powered signs placed along key roadways in Gahanna for speeding. So to deter speeding, Hines Road, Hines Road, Clark State Road, Cherry Bottom, and I'm for East Johnstown Road. I believe those are the 4. We were only supposed to do 3, but we were able to get them at such a good cost, we were able to get 4. Those are movable as well, so whether or not we'll be monitoring speeding along those corridors and whether or not we can move those around to other places in the community so we can continue to send the message that everybody needs to pay attention and share the roadway in a safe manner. We also had the installation of 21 flock cameras. And just want to bring that up because just this past weekend, we had the apprehension of an individual who was wanted on a felonious assault charge. It happened, Sergeant Utt noticed a vehicle that was alerting on the flock camera as being under the warrant alert tab, on the warrant attached to an individual who was wanted in Columbus, or wanted for a felonious assault. It was a particularly violent incident that happened in Columbus on 9/11. We located the vehicle in the parking lot of a hotel here in Gahanna. Our officers reached out to the hotel with the staff. The staff alerted our officers as to when the individual returned, and our officers showed up, were able to apprehend the individual with absolutely no incident. So the flock cameras were extremely instrumental in being able to effect that apprehension in a safe manner. And I not only give credit to our officers, but also to Director Schultz. Chief Spence says that project would not have happened if Director Schultz had not moved that project forward. So Director Schultz, thank you for the apprehension this weekend. We appreciate that. And then finally, I would be remiss if I did not thank the residents who showed up tonight, who have reached out. I know we've all have received many emails with regard to the proposed action sports project. I just want to again reinforce where we are with that today. It is right now, it's an idea. And we engaged a consultant just 6 weeks ago. So in terms of the transparency comments that were made, the public engagement process is just beginning. If you heard about it at Hops and Vines, that was part of the beginning of the public engagement. There will be many opportunities over the coming months to provide input and feedback. I believe we're going to have a tent at the Mill Street Market, also promote that event, which is the last Sunday in September. But please keep an eye on our website, on our social media pages. If you don't receive our emails, email newsletters, please sign up to do that. Email alerts will also go out, but many ways that we will be communicating opportunities to provide input. We'll share your feedback. I know emails that we received with the consultant as they begin that process, but this is how the process works. There's an idea, and then we evaluate it. So they will be doing public engagement, site analysis, design concepts, cost estimates, and then we will really be able to be in a position to make a better informed decision as to how to proceed. So this is a very lengthy process. We're only at the very beginning of this process. But thank you for having your voices heard today. We hear you, and we'll continue to take that into consideration as we pull the string on this, so to speak, and let this process play out and the evaluation happen with the consultants. And that is all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. City Attorney Tam Larison.
Thank you. I am pleased to inform council that there were 2 settlements that were pending for some worker compensation claims for 2 former employees that were both ongoing litigation, so including dismissals and refilings this year. So those 24 refiles have both been dismissed now, and you will recall that Senior Director Vollmer had approached council for an appropriation for those, so those have been finalized. In other news, just to put this on everybody's radar, you may recall that I know that we're just getting through the criminal side of the code review, but if you recall, the earlier traffic code review was actually a carryover from 2023. So I do have a 2024 traffic code update, which is very short compared to the first one, because it's just to catch us up and get us back on track for just an annual review there. So that will be forthcoming in future committee meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, City Attorney. All right. Our last item on tonight's agenda before we go into an executive session, for which there will be no action taken afterwards, will be council comment. Councilwoman Jones.
Yeah, Yes, thank you. I did want to add one amendment to my school board report that I failed to mention a little earlier, but acknowledging that this week is Start With Hello Week, and all Gahanna Jefferson elementary schools will be participating in this initiative, which was developed by the Sandy Hook Promise. So it is just an effort to create connections and a sense of belonging at our local schools. I know that I will be at Lincoln Elementary bright and early tomorrow welcoming students in, so I would encourage any colleagues or even community members who might want to participate in activities happening this week to reach out to local elementary schools that are participating. So just that one amendment, and then just again, thank you to our guest in recognition of Hispanic Heritage Month, and thank you to our residents for coming and sharing your voices and your perspective. It's such an important part of what we do, and we truly appreciate hearing from you all. So thank you for taking the time, and as the mayor said, the discussion continues. So keep it up, keep the conversation up. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. Councilwoman McGregor.
I would just thank everybody for coming for the Action Park issue. My one concern, maybe my main concern, just off the top, is that is a very windy, small road right now. It's one of the prettiest roads in Gahanna, but I think it may be the only road in Gahanna that has a 15-mile-per-hour speed limit on it. So that, I'm sure that will be taken into consideration when they consider adding more traffic to that very narrow road from both north and south. And I want to thank Councilman Jones for the resolution for Hispanic Heritage Month. I have 4 grandchildren who have Hispanic heritage. My son-in-law is from Puerto Rico, and my daughter often says she wouldn't have cheated her way through high school Spanish if she'd known she was going to marry somebody from Puerto Rico. But he's introduced us to so many things, and I think that's kind of fun about having somebody from a different culture in your family. We have a lot of extended family meals, and he would bring, the first time he came, he brought rice and beans, and everybody's like, okay. And he was disappointed that nobody ate any, and we said, just give him a chance. Well, now he rarely leaves with any left in his pot, so we've all acclimated to rice and beans. In 2021, my granddaughters had a joint quinceañera, which is a Hispanic tradition for girls when they turn 15. They have a big party. And 200 plus adults and students, mostly from Gahanna, were introduced to this Hispanic tradition. So I really think that it's a wonderful thing to have a diversity of people in our community, and it just adds a lot to people learning traditions from other countries. And even though Puerto Rico is technically America, their traditions are very different from most of ours. So thank you for that resolution. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. McGregor. Councilwoman Padova.
Thank you. Big kudos to all of our city staff who worked hard on getting that roundabout project done early and under budget. That's a huge accomplishment, so nice work on that. Wanted to let everyone know next Monday, September 23rd, I will be the special guest at the 10:30 a.m. toddler story time at the Gahanna Library branch. And then we'll be hanging around after for conversation. If anybody has been to Miss Sarah's story times, you know she is the true MVP, so I will make my bit very brief, but I will be around after for any conversation that anybody has any questions or anything. And that's all.
Thank you, Councilwoman Padova. Councilman Renner.
Yeah, I just don't want to echo what everybody else up here is already saying. Thank you so much for everybody coming up to the podium and sitting through a very lengthy agenda. This is probably most of you the first time that you actually seen government or local government at work, and it's probably pretty boring to you. I'd let you know that this is our regular session, so we already talked at length and debated at committee, so those are much more actionable. And so by the time we actually get to tonight or a regular session, everybody pretty much knows how they're going to vote on things. And so we've already said our piece mainly publicly, so you can go to YouTube, and if you really want to watch some exciting stuff, catch the committee meetings and not tonight. But also part of local government is you coming and actually talking to us. Thank you. Thank you so much. I know a lot of you probably went on Facebook and reacted. I have mixed feelings about Facebook. I really do adore and love this job and love hearing from you. And so coming to, sending an email, calling, or coming here and actually speaking is probably the most powerful thing you can actually do as a resident and local government. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Renner. Councilman Schnetzer.
Thank you, Madam President. To my colleague, Mr. Renner, the committee meetings are only marginally more interesting than a regular meeting of city council.
I do my best,
But,
Mr. Schnetzer.
Point taken. Thank you. So I'll sound a bit redundant, but I think it bears repeating here. Thank you to all of our guests this evening with regard to the proclamation and the resolution, and especially those that came in for the hearing of visitors. Again, in this nearly 250-year experiment in self-government, as Councilman Renner and Councilwoman Jones said, it is a very critical component of it all. So thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Schnetzer. Councilman Weaver.
Thank you, Madam President. As my colleagues have said, I just want to add my voice and say thank you to everyone for being here this evening, whether that was to participate in hearing visitors or joining us for the proclamation of the resolution. This really is the people's house, so we welcome everyone to come whenever you're able, and We've done our best to try and make things accessible as well. So if you can't come in person, we do have options for submitting a video comment get that into our clerk. He'll happily play that for us at the start of our hearing of visitors. Or, we all try to be accessible via email or phone. However, we try to meet you where you are. So thank you to everyone for joining us or participating. Add a personal thanks to the mayor for her recognition of Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. I've shared before that I never had the opportunity to meet my sister-in-law because she tragically passed away of childhood cancer. So whatever we can do to raise awareness and move that needle for something that touches families all over our community and all over the country and the world. So thank you very much for that. Thank you, Ms. Jones, for leading the charge in recognizing Hispanic Heritage Month. It is beautiful that we live in such a diverse community, and it is very moving to be able to recognize the different members of our community that make it such a wonderful place to live. All that said, I want to thank everybody for their efforts for making several very busy weekends in a row with lots of events throughout the community. Following Hops and Vines Fest, I decided to walk the Kyle Miller 5K the next morning. I think most people felt the same way, but it was a great series of events. And as someone who is currently in the process of moving, it was wonderful to be able to drop a few items off at the Shred event over the weekend. So thank you all, and that's it for me, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Well, I'm very jealous of Councilwoman Padova. I think that her story time is going to be probably, I don't know, more stressful, less stressful. Next week, I'm going to be on a panel at the Columbus Metropolitan Club with Dr. Craig Pollack, Westerville Councilman / Mayor Ken Wright, former Mayor Coleman, and moderated by Darcy Congrove of GBQ, Health, Housing, and Hope. We're hoping to have a discussion on public policy around affordability and housing and how we balance needs of our communities with the realities of funding, and how we can advance inclusive and dynamic and diverse communities through our housing policy and our approaches to policy. So I'm looking forward very much to that, and thank you to Mr. Van Meter for organizing attendees who wish to attend that within the city. Very briefly, too, I'm very much looking forward to Mill Street Market, Sunday, September 29th. I do understand that the city is organizing a table, and again, council, I believe council members also plan to attend. I know Mayor Jadwin also is always very accessible and in attendance at those events. So we look forward to connecting with people again at Mill Street Market on September 29th. Senor Colon, thank you for being here this evening. Senor y Senora Vicens, thank you for being here this evening as well. You are all part of the fabric of our community that we are happy to celebrate and uplift. Thank you to Ms. Jones for identifying that. And again, thanks to the mayor for the proclamation on awareness of childhood cancer. I wanted just to turn briefly to the Action Sports Park, and I want to thank very much the residents for coming out tonight and engaging in dialogue and raising your concerns. You certainly raise incredibly valid points for us to continue to take into consideration and engage with you on as we advance any development in our community. I know many of us are very active users of our community. I'm an active but slow runner, and so often run on Old Ridenhour, and I very much appreciate the concerns about traffic on Old Ridenhour. But I have a almost 8-year-old, and we went down to Chestnut Ridge Metro Park a couple weekends ago, and I traumatized him on the mountain bike course and took advantage of the pump track. He absolutely had a blast, and so I would encourage folks to take a look at some of the area amenities that we have, because there may be ways for us to balance some of these concerns. Not to say that there's a foregone conclusion about location, but I certainly want you to understand and want you to know that that there is a really skilled and dynamic group of folks who are helping lead these conversations with a lot of forethought and a lot of consideration for the points that you've raised tonight. It's not necessarily saying that we've got it all figured out right now or that anything is done, but I know that the values that we share with you, with Director Farrell, are certainly driving these thoughts, these plans, and our forward progress. So thank you for being here tonight. We will look forward to engaging with you further. We have all of your contact information, so thank you again. I want to just close my comments tonight with just very, very briefly. I am a huge Brené Brown junkie. And if anybody else who reads Brené Brown might appreciate that and understand. But I was listening to one of her recent podcasts, and she had an incredible guest on. And during this podcast, she discussed the research from a scholar named C.R. Snyder from the University of Kansas, who argued that hope is not an emotion at all, that hope is a cognitive behavioral process that is made up of 3 pieces: goal, pathway, and agency. And so we experience hope when we get clear about what it is that we want to achieve. We understand the path that may lead us there, and we have the tenacity to plan B, C, D, and E if plan A doesn't work. And the last piece of hope is agency, that I believe in my ability to do this. And so when we are trying to grasp onto hope, and especially in tumultuous times like this where anxiety can run so rampant, thinking about these 3 components, together, and how we can all be doing this work in congruity with each other, advancing progress for our community. So with that, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session. There is no action that is anticipated to be taken following executive session, and I do anticipate that it will be relatively brief. Again, you all have our contact information and we have yours. So with that, I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session under authority of Section 5.40A of the Council Rules of Procedure to consider the appointment of public employees or officials. Is there a first?
So moved.
Second.
So moved.
Weaver first and Schnetzer second. All right, any discussion? Mr. Van Meter, would you please call the roll?
Weaver?
Yes.
Schnetzer?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
McGregor?
Yes.
Padova?
Yes.
Renner?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Motion carries, and we will go into law library.